Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vedyadravinam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Arjun, may I ask you to poke that box on the screen? So last week we began the 7th chapter, and in it, Krishna, or poet Vyasa, turn this on. Yes. Says two things that appear contradictory and are very famous. The first is, all this is strung on me like gems on a thread, Mani Sutra. Meaning, the self is the very essence, the very being of everyone, and the material cause of everything. What do we mean by material cause? So, in Vedanta, we talk about causation with 3 elements. And the classic idea is a potter making a pot. Did we go through this last week? No? I didn't hear you.
No, we didn't.
Okay. So first is material cause. The material cause of the pot is clay. That's what the potter makes the pot out of. The instrumental cause, where does it take place? Pot, it's the potter's wheel. The third element is the efficient cause. Who makes the pot? The potter. When we come to the phenomenal world, question is it created the way a potter makes a pot? It's interesting because in the Hebrew scriptures, they clearly say, you are the potter, I am the clay. In yoga, what is the material cause of the phenomenal world. What's it made out of? Well, the table's made out of wood, the chair's made out of leather, the lamp is made out of porcelain. Vedanta says, no. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily Brahman. The material cause of the world is consciousness. Ooh. It doesn't seem like that. That's what they say. What's the instrument that God uses to make the world? Well, he has a oven in the back room that he puts in it. Brahman is the instrument itself. And who does it? Brahman. Seems confusing. So then Krishna will then say, well, maybe this will help. I'm not really in them. They are in me. Make up your mind. Are you in them or are they in me? It seems contradictory. And the best way to understand this is to go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream. What takes place is mini Maya. So what happens? You go to sleep at night, and it's your mind, your chitta, which becomes the material cause of the elements in the dream. You dream about a boat or a horse or a mountain. What's it made of? Just the fabric of my mind. Where'd you do it? If you dream about a boat, you don't have to bring a shipwright, a boat builder. Put it in your ears. No. The mind itself is the instrument that creates it. Sankalpena, by means of sankalpa. Imagination. And who's doing the dreaming? So you see in the dream that as a microcosm, reenact the macrocosm. You are the material cause, the instrumental cause, and the efficient cause. Now, Arjuna has a difficult time grasping this. So there's a big question mark on his forehead. Mm-hmm. So Krishna begins to give him some examples to try to explain how consciousness, Bhava, Sat, is the essence in everything. Now, a modern worldly example of this. What is the relationless relationship between electricity and a light bulb, a fan, and a stereo? Electricity, the very substance, it's the life force that makes the bulb glow. But electricity is not light. Electricity is the very power by which the fan can spin. Electricity is not motion. Electricity is the very power by which the stereo can sing. Electricity is not sound. But because of this sparsha yoga, is the term Krishna is going to use. The root is prichati, which means the touch. So asparsha means untouched. Yoga means joy. So also, just like at night, you create a world of name and form of people, places, things, and conditions. But you are the life force of them. But you are not changed or altered by them. If you dream you fall into a mud puddle, you don't wake up in the morning covered with mud. If you dream you win the lottery, you don't wake up in the morning a multimillionaire. Though you enliven the dream, you are not touched by the dream. Now, in actuality, self in you is the life force that enlivens your body, your mind, and your intellect. The very life force behind the prana, which makes everything live. Yet you are always the untouched witness. Likewise, Brahman, which is the ground of being of the whole universe. Out of it, by means of the infinite Maya Shakti, all of this issues forth. But at the end of an age, we don't know what's going to happen. A big crunch, a big cool, we don't know. Consciousness is not touched by. So what? As we move through the world at the level of transaction, Vyavahara, all will be well. Even dying is completely safe. We were talking about St. Francis before class. Mike, tell us what his last words were.
I did what was mine to do. Now you need to go do what's yours to do.
Oh, I was told it was welcome, Sister Death.
So there is a song he sings and creates through his lifetime, and it starts with "Be praised, my Lord, my brother, sun, sister moon,
yes,
Mother Earth," and he goes through just the elements and all these things about how by their nature give praise to God. Towards the end of his life, he added Sister Death to that. But again, there are several different stories of his last few hours.
But the main point, there was no fear or resistance of it.
Yeah.
Welcome. Even that. Because I'm convinced he was a realized soul. And he knew that the truth in him was birthless and deathless. Just as it is for you and me. We just don't know it. Okay, so let's get into our text. What verse are we on?
I think we're on verse 5.
Verse 5. Will you help us out, please, Deepa?
Sure. Apare yamitastvanyam Prakritim vidhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho. Yayedam dharyate jagat. This is the lower Prakriti, different from it, know thou, O mighty armed, my higher Prakriti, the very life element by which this world is upheld.
So he's using this word prakriti, which he borrows from the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy, you're an individual purusha, a little lump of consciousness that runs around. And prakriti is nature. And the problem is this little purusha is all tangled up in nature. But Krishna says, nah, we'll use that language because it's stuff that we know, but it's different than that. So the stuff of this world, we talked about this last week, how it comes about by means of the tanmatras, the 5 subtle elements. Did we go through this last week?
Yes.
I'm doing 8 classes a week now, so I have no idea what I'm teaching with anymore. So just a quick review. For example, in the living room, we have a wooden table. It's made of carbon, but if I dream about a table, it's made of some combination of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. So prakriti, nature, this phenomenal world is not created, it's not separate from me, it's not solid and concrete, it is imagined. Now, you as an individual are not imagining the stars and the galaxies. Ishvara is doing that. But it comes about sankalpena, by means of sankalpa. So that's the lower prakriti. Basically, stuff that's knowable. It has a beginning and an end. It occurs in time and space. If it's confined to the waking, dream, or deep sleep state. Most importantly, if it's cognizable as objective phenomena. This here Krishna calls my lower nature, prakriti. Now he's going to point to his higher nature. What is it? The self. So, experientially, what do we mean by that? Close your eyes for a moment and visualize a mango. Now open your eyes. By the way, I just learned this recently, some people cannot visualize things. They can't have auditory imagination. I just was talking with a student. I said, well, think of a song. Can you think of the tune of the song in your head? Oh, yeah, I can do that. I just can't visualize things. I did not know that. But most of us can. Most of us can visualize mango. The point here is there's a knower and something no. So you can't find a second substance that you made the mango out of. But you are the untouched witness of the mango. Mango is an object of cognition. Mango is lower prakriti. You, the one who knows the mango. This is what he's driving at. next verse.
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभव प्रलयस्तथा. Know that these two prakritis are the womb of all beings. So I am the source and dissolution of the whole universe.
Okay. Will you do me a favor, Amini?
Yeah.
Go into the hall and in the altar there, in front of the big Dattatreya, you'll see a Shiva Lingam.
Okay.
Will you bring it to me,
Yeah.
please? Little tiny black one. You see it?
Yeah. This one?
So this is what Vyasa, our poet, is talking about. This is one of the oldest representations of the infinite in India. This is called, for the Westerners, a Shiva Lingam. The penis. Look what it's inside. What does that look like to you? It's called a yoni. It's a womb. And it's always embedded in the womb. Now, when you do the Abhisheka, then it comes out the spout and stuff like that. It's stylized. But what it's representing is exactly what Krishna is talking about. So this is done from a Shaivite perspective. Shiva, Shakti. But here he's saying, I as consciousness, Krishna, am ever impregnating the womb of Prakriti. And that's how all creation takes place. Electricity is Krishna. The bulb is inert. But when electricity touches the bulb, we get light, we get motion, we get sound. Shiva touches Shakti. Krishna touches Prakriti. The greatest symbols that we have. So it's the two together. And in the end, they're not really two. He'll say, I have my lower Prakriti, and then I have my higher Prakriti. I have my lower nature and I have my higher nature. What does it mean? Doesn't mean, ooh, I've got bad ideas. No, it doesn't mean that. It means go back to our simple experiment, visualizing a mango. Now, if you were to close your eyes and visualize a little pea, and now visualize a huge mountain. The lower Prakriti forms as mango, pea, mountain. But the higher Prakriti does not change at all. It does not take more of you to visualize a mountain or a peak. So also, all this comes about in the same way. Now, there are deep tantric implications to this. Yoga says all this is like a dream. Tantra says, yeah, but it doesn't have to be a nightmare. So, at the individual level, we have far more freedom to do some lucid dreaming, as it were, some dream shaping than we think. How? Whatever you look at, you're going to think about. Whatever you look at repeatedly, you will think about repeatedly. Repeated thought becomes habituated thought. Habituated thought sinks into the unconscious and becomes the law of my life, meaning that's my particular bundle of sankalpas. This is why one person can have a view of the world. Oh, it's so terrible. Politics and the economy, and I'm so frightened. And another person can be moving through the same world. Oh no, there's God shots everywhere. I live and move and have my being in a grace-filled world. Which is the truth? Oh, here's the Pollyanna. Oh, you have a negative view. Both are true and neither is true. Because we have a tremendous ability to, at one level, certainly interpret the phenomena we experience. Actually, to a tremendous degree, to create. I'm going to give you a personal example. Amini is a very fine classical singer. But did not you have the desire to do this? And the impetus to put the work in? Didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you a finished classical singer?
No.
No?
Mhm.
Why not?
Because I did not put the effort or the skill set necessary.
In other words, it was not your sankalpa. Now, you work at Google still?
Yep.
Yep. And you're pretty skilled in engineering, computerization, and all that kind of stuff. I can't even say the words.
Kind of, yes.
Kind of, yeah. I'm a retired musician. I can't make the damn. I just learned how to do a screen capture. I'm a tech tard.
No. No.
No, I am. I'm not. It's just no sankalpa, no desire. I'm here. So, what's the difference? We create our worlds. Sankalpena, by means of our own intention. Now, many of you know Puneet. Puneet, for a long time, worked for this outfit called the Learning Guild. And the Learning Guild had as its mission to teach computer programming skills to predominantly marginalized communities where people don't normally go into computer programming. And one of the things they had to deal with is what we call imposter syndrome. Who here has heard that term before? Who can define what imposter syndrome is?
You think you don't deserve where you are?
Or you think you can't do it, or you're unable to do it. So these young people, they would be writing code. I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And so a lot of what the faculty had to learn to, you just did it. You just did it. Or in your speech therapy, do you find young people who are convinced they can't correct what the pathology is? Do you?
Yeah, I see it a lot with like language disorders. Like from very young, they convince themselves that they're dumb. So they'll be like, this is too hard, I'm dumb, I can't do it from very little.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Usually those are internalized messages from family.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do?
Well, then they're not doing
Yeah. So they then internalize that and it becomes their sankalpa. I have a student whose mother always told him, oh, you're the best. Yes, it works. Some of us get messages. You can't, you shouldn't. All these are thoughts. They're just thoughts. But they create our lives. And the marvelous message of yoga is you can change a thought. How did it get in there? Mostly by repetition. So one of our greatest powers as yogis, power of the third eye. I like to think of it, like a miner's helmet that has the light on it. Or any of you ride a bicycle with a helmet that has a light on it? Any of you have one of those? So when you move your head, what happens to the light?
It points in the direction that you want.
Yeah. So the attentive faculty is your headlight. What you look at, you're going to think about. What you look at repeatedly, you're going to think about repeatedly. Repeated thought becomes habitual thought. Habitual thought sinks into the unconscious. You don't even know that it has become the law of my life. And I think the stuff out there is making me think and feel stuff when it's exactly the opposite. It's my habituated thinking and feeling that makes me see the world in a particular way. One of the most important lessons to learn as yogis. So we are not only concerned about our relationship with our mind. I am not my feelings, I am not my thoughts, I'm the knower of them. But when we begin to see, oh, that's a particular system of thinking that tends to get me into trouble. So, are you in management at this point?
Kind of, yes.
Kind of. So you're in management. So somebody comes to apply for a job, and if their deeply rooted idea is, I'm not going to get this, it's a waste of time. This is way above my ability and stuff like that. I'm just faking. What's the interview usually like?
Doesn't go well.
Yeah. But if someone's inspired and excited about the idea, the project, the job, they're engaged, what's the difference?
Goes much better.
Yeah. what you look at, you're going to think about. So, is there anything wrong with spending all morning rehashing old hurts, old resentments, self-pity, slights, irritations? Well, for the yogi, we know, that stuff starts to change the way I see the world if it's habituated. Don't want to spend my morning thinking that way. Maybe I'd be better off trying to be of service. Maybe working on having some gratitude. If I'm fearful, Ishvara Pranidhana, one of the major things Yoga Sutra says. Who knows what Ishvara Pranidhana is? Trustful surrender to God. It's going to be okay. God's in charge. Wonderful way to pray. Anyway, that's kind of ancillary. This idea is the essence of Tantra. Idea is, yes, this world comes about like a dream, but it doesn't have to be a nightmare. Okay, lower Prakriti, the stuff, the chitta, the mind stuff out of which all of this is made. Higher Prakriti, consciousness itself, always experienced as the subject, as aham. Aham. The Upanishads say, I am Atma Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. All right, next verse.
Matta parattaram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam protam sutre mani gana iva. There is nothing whatsoever higher than me, O Dhananjaya. All this is strung in me as clusters of gem on a string.
Oh, we didn't get to this verse yet. Okay. So there is nothing beyond the self. The self is that by which everything is known, without which nothing can be known, beyond which there's nothing to know. Nothing can be known. Oh, I've gone beyond self-realization. I've realized the self beyond the self. And who knows it? Well, I do. Cannot deny. Maybe you're a Shunyavadan. That's a particular school of Buddhism, which posits that ultimate reality is void, shunyata, there's nothing. Not only is the ego an illusion, but consciousness itself is an illusion. Oh, and have you experienced this? Yes, I've experienced it. And tell me, by virtue of what is the absence of awareness known? Grant you, something disappeared. But you cannot go beyond awareness itself. And then this wonderful image. All this is strung on me like gems on a thread. Money. We talked about that in the earlier part. Next verse.
Two verses together.
Okay.
Raso hamapsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham nrishu punyo gandha prithivyam cha tejaschasmi vibhavasau jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu. I am the sapidity in water, O son of Kunti. I am the light in the moon and the sun. I am the syllable Om in all the Vedas, sound in ether and virility in men. I am the sweet fragrance in earth and the brilliance in fire, the life in all beings, and I am austerity in the austere.
So here in the language of poetry, our poet Vyasa is trying to give us a sense of how consciousness, Krishna, is the essence, the life principle, the dharma of everything. So, for example, he says the wetness in water. Dharma of water is to be wet. Water that isn't wet isn't water. So it's the essence of everything. Just like the essence of the light bulb is electricity. The essence of the fan is electricity. The essence of the stereo is electricity. He is the wetness of water. He's the light in the sun and the moon. Om in the Vedas. What are the other things? There was a list.
He starts with the sapidity in water, light in the moon and the sun.
Yes.
The syllable Om in all the Vedas.
And the next,
sound in ether and virility in men.
so sound and ether. So each one of the elements, earth, air, fire, water, and ether, corresponds to a sense perception. So earth is smellability, the good earth. Air, touchability. Fire, seeability. Water, tasteability. Space, akash, sound. So in this one reference, he's bringing in that essence of all the elements of sense perception. And the virility in men, meaning the life force in people. It's not just buff stud guys that we're talking about here. We mean the life force in everyone. That's this essential essence. Shakti. Shiva ever wedded to Shakti. Krishna ever wedded to Bhakti. Next verse.
Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhi matamasmi tejas tejasvi namaham. Know me, O Partha, as the eternal seed of all beings. I am the intelligence of the intelligent, the splendor of the splendid, things and beings am I.
So the eternal seed, bija, here meeting the fundamental source of everything. So in our Shanti mantra that we chant at the end of class, Purnamada Purnamidam Adaha, that meaning the higher Prakriti is full. Purnam idam. Sarvam idam means the phenomenal world. Purnat Purnam udachyate. From the fullness of that, the fullness of this, and the fullness of the higher Prakriti, the fullness of the lower Prakriti has issued forth. Maya is co-eternal with Brahman. Inherent in consciousness is Maya Shakti, from which all this comes. Just like you can take a tiny little mustard seed, put it in the earth. You don't have to do anything. Earth knows what to do with the seed. Next thing you know, huge mustard plants grow. Have any of you seen wild mustard here in California? It grows more in Southern California. You see whole hillsides covered with fragrant yellow flowers. It's wild mustard. A little tiny seed spreads to this incredible, huge, vast shrubbery. So also, Purnat Purnam udachyate. And the fullness of that, the fullness of this just spreads forth. So I am the seed in all beings. What was the next idea, Deepa?
I am the intelligence of the intelligent.
Yes. So here it doesn't mean I'm what makes smart people smart. We could say that. But there's a deeper understanding of this. Most of us kind of think that I have consciousness and I have states of consciousness. It seems like I possess consciousness, like I do a hand or a foot. Actually, no. If you really pay attention, consciousness is never known as an object. What is known are thoughts and feelings and moods and stuff like that. Swamiji used to call it his spiritual algebra. I'll do it this way on my magic chalkboard here. Mind with a capital M equals A, awareness, plus TF, thought flow, or we could put vritti. What is mind? It is the awareness of the flow of thoughts, the awareness of vrittis. Now, if I take the TF and I move it to the other side of the equal sign, what do I have to do? Mind minus thought flow equals awareness. You do not have awareness. You are awareness. You are aware of mind states. But the mind states, the moods, the feelings, the thoughts are jada, which means inert. They are not sentient. One thought doesn't see another thought. One feeling doesn't see another feeling. I illumine them all. And if you really look, you'll see I is not touched. So in the subtle intellect, the intelligence, what is the very essence of the intellect? What is the illuminating factor by which thought is known? The practice implies slow down your mind. And if you can slow it down enough in meditation, where you begin to see the space between your thoughts. Thought arises out of silence, it continues, and then it goes away. And before the next thought starts thoughting, the attentive faculty turns within. See if you can notice. Oh, who am I? Is the nature of that pure awareness. Chidananda Buddha. Shivoham, Shivoham. I'm not a person. I'm of the form of bliss consciousness. Shiva. I'm auspiciousness. Not just as theoretical, but as a direct experience. All of this is implied in this intelligence of the intelligent. What's the next idea, Deepa?
Shouldn't I have a question?
Yes.
Should I wait until the next one, or it's about this first?
About this verse?
About what you just said.
Let's go
Okay,
on. Go to
all right.
next. Yes, go on.
So when you say the intelligence behind the intelligence, right? So there's awareness, and then there's whatever thought flow makes up your mind.
Mhm.
So I guess there's two ideas that I think mean the same thing, but I get a little tripped up when I think about them. So when we talk about the mind that revels in the self, right? We're talking about a mind turned inward to awareness, essentially, versus being awareness. That's mind minus thought flow equals awareness. So I know that they're the same thing, but the way you approach both of them is different. Like the way you go about inquiry is different in both ways. So I guess my question is, and I find the turning the mind works better for me. Whereas I know that in a lot of scriptures, they'll just say, be awareness.
You can't be awareness, you are it already. That's like
right,
saying, I want you to have a human body.
Yeah.
I already have one,
Right. So it's about making your mind notice.
Yes. It is not an ontological problem.
Right.
It is an epistemological problem.
Right.
Ontology is being. Your being doesn't change, but your knowledge of who you are changes enormously. Now, why is that important? So imagine there's a homeless person living around the lake. Doesn't have a P.O. box, doesn't have an address, and has no idea that his rich uncle died and left him $1 million. Sitting there in the bank with his name on it.
Right.
But it doesn't do him any good. Why? Because he doesn't know he has it.
Right.
Or real life thing. I was watching Antiques Roadshow. I like Antiques Roadshow. Anybody else like Antiques Roadshow? You've
I like
seen-
it.
I like Antiques Roadshow. So there was this lady who brought in this brooch, and she had had one jeweler look at it and said, "Oh, it's costume jewelry, and it's not worth very much, maybe $100, $200. It was belonged to her great grandmother, and it's not particularly valuable." So she brings it to the Antiques Roadshow. I was wondering what it was. So the fellow said, "Well, the jeweler was mistaken. That large jewel in the middle is a star sapphire. And those are diamonds all around. And it's not set in silver, it's set in platinum. This is worth about $250,000. I keep it in an old shoebox. You know, here was this incredibly valuable piece of jewelry, but she didn't know. So right now, you already have the self. When are you ever not you? But because I do not know the nature of the self, because of avidya, spiritual ignorance, mind creates the phony self, ankara, jiva bhavana. And that's always got a feeling of being discontent, just not enough. And along with that creation of the sense of individuality is the sense of a goal. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if, more better different. The third element, struggle. Hard work. That is samsara. That's karma chakra. That's hell. That's dukkha. Has many, many different names. This world. We don't need to beat it up to get out of it, this nasty old world. My problem is I do not see who I am. And I do not understand what the world is. When I do, first, I get what I call existential freedom. You're safe. Absolutely safe. I tell people, don't try to be an enlightened person. Don't try to be a spiritual person. It's too burdensome. Be Brahman. That's who you are. And then the other great question, well, where is happiness? Because that's what the mind wants. Mind thinks in its state of ignorance, grasping, clinging, controlling. And in truth, go, go. Then it's like the ocean is not different from waves. So the stormy waves are like my craving mind. Gimme, 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 gimme. The storm passes and the waves, they don't go anywhere. Nobody cuts them off and puts them in a boat and takes them someplace. They just go. Language fails us. Mind soaked in the self, drowned in the self, reveling in the self. You know it when you feel it. Is that useful?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Deepa, what was the next idea in this shloka?
I am the splendor of the splendid am I.
Yes. So that which shines in any way, the essence of its brilliance is Krishna. Back to our metaphor of electricity. Whether it's a light bulb, whether it's a fan, whether it's a stereo, whether it's a vacuum cleaner, whether it's a toaster, whether it's a microwave, whatever it is, what animates it, makes it do its thing. Electricity. So whatever makes anything in this world do its thing, it is Krishna. The very life principle in everything. All right, next one.
Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. Of the strong, I am the strength, devoid of desire and attachment. And in all beings, I am the desire, unopposed to dharma, O best among the Bharatas.
So here he's saying when it comes to a human being, we have our swadharma. We talked about this in chapters 3, 4, and 5. What are the desires within you that make you who you are as an individual? I like to use the snowflake as a good metaphor. All snowflakes are water. That's the material cause of all snowflakes. But all snowflakes have a crystalline structure, and I've been told that each one is unique. So, at the level of our equipment, you are special, you are unique. So, Arjun, you can't be Vinayak, he's taken. But don't many of us see someone else and we want to be like them? Or we beat ourselves and why can't I be like such and such and so and so? Why can't I be popular like them? Or why can't I have a body like them? Or how come my hair isn't like them? Or why can't I be as educated then? Or I don't sing like so and stuff like that. I've had thoughts like this. Sorry, they're taken. You can only be. And Krishna is the essence of that. And at its deepest level of our Swadharma, what is the Dharma of a human being? What is it that makes a human being? Self-realization, self-knowledge. We look at it from two viewpoints. How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself, and you are not unknown. You are self-evident, self-luminous. The great 20th century Saint Mayor Baba used to say, everybody's already realized. Don't worry, be happy. And then we can look at it also of the evolution of the individual, moving from ignorance to knowledge, the Dharma. Krishna will say, everybody always is seeking me, but they don't know it. It's just by the wrong means. I may think I want drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I think I want cash and prizes. It just takes a few lifetimes to figure that out. Ultimately, Krishna is the essence of all our desires. He's the essence of what it is to be human. He's the essence of everything that's going on in our lives, constantly bringing us to Krishna.
Jim, why doesn't it apply to animals though? Why?
It does,
But you said humans.
because you're not an animal right now, you're a human. But each form in the world has its nature. And a stone has as its essence Krishna. But a stone does not have this thing called a mind. Animals have minds, but their minds are largely instinctual. Personally, I think some animals in some ways are more evolved than humans. That's not what the scriptures say. The scriptures say that humans are the crown and the summit of evolution. But one of the things a human has the capacity to do is become self-aware. Who am I? What is my nature? I'm sure you've seen experiments they've done with various animals where they will put a dot on their forehead and then have them look at themselves in a mirror, and whether or not the animal can tell, oh, that's another dog over there, or another chimpanzee, or another gorilla. But some will go, they'll look in the mirror and they'll go, they realize it's themselves. So there's a kind of self-awareness that some higher animals will have. Humans can even have self-awareness beyond the body. But the essence of the dogs and the frogs and the worms and the germs is still Krishna. Was that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. All right, it's 8 o'clock. We'll stop here. What verse are we on for next week?
We're on 12.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.